Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest-running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasiewicz.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. I'm Christian Karasiewicz, CEO and founder of SocialChefs.com, and we've got a fantastic show for you this week. Again, every week we try to cover the latest in social media news. There's quite a lot happening every single week. This week we're covering YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and even a little TikTok. But before we get started, I want to go ahead and bring on my co-host this week. It's going to be Jim Fuhs from Fusion Marketing. Jim, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Christian. It's great to see you. Excited to be here, and I know we got started a little later than we wanted to, but let's get rolling.
Sounds good. So, who do we have on this week?
So we've got a great guest. We've got Troy Sandidge out of sunny and cold Chicago. I don't know if it's actually sunny, but I'll just say that he's a graduate of Valpo. I got a chance to actually meet Troy in person at Social Media Week Lima this past year. He was one of the speakers. A fantastic story. Fantastic guy, and I'm glad that we've become friends. I'm looking forward to seeing him again soon.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Troy. I'm going to do a quick restart. We're having some audio issues earlier. That is normal with live video. You have to, well, I'll say the issues aren't normal, but you have to roll with the punches. So I'm going to go and bring on Troy. I'm going to do a quick restart, and I'll be right back. So Troy, fantastic having you on.
Hey, glad to be back on the show.
It's great having you on. So do us a favor, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do. You work in social, I think. So who do you work for, if you could say that, and any additional information you want to share?
Sure. So currently I run digital marketing for the National Democratic Training Committee, social media at Train Dems, plug in there. Outside of that, I'm also a consultant and a speaker under the fine Troy. You can find me anywhere on that as well. So I've kind of stepped away from actually executing a lot of brand social. They're really teaching their teams and small businesses, Fortune 500 brands, projects, and campaigns on how to run social and social media ads.
Fantastic. So I know Jim said, hey, we got started a little bit late today. Where do you all want to go? Because I know we got a lot we want to talk about, and we want to make sure we give Troy some time as well to talk about, how to deal with damage control, and also how to through social media when you're engaging with people from different cultures and communities, because everybody, they might take things the wrong way depending on where they're located. So Jim, where do you want to start?
Let's start with the what Facebook's doing with potentially cleaning up the feed with the whole tab feature. I think that's pretty interesting.
So what do we have going on here?
So Facebook is potentially rolling out a new way to really organize your feed, and where you can see the stuff that really means something to you. I think it's a way to maybe potentially bring news in. I see that somewhat as, I won't say it's competition, but like I know for me, I don't know about you, Troy, when I want to catch breaking news, I go to Twitter because it pops right up. So I think Facebook is attempting to give you stuff that you're interested in your feed quicker, and I think really get value, because I think that's been part of their challenge.
So do you guys think that this is actually useful for a business, or what do you think on this? I mean, do you like this?
I think that I think all the platforms are starting to move for a mobile-friendly kind of experience on desktop. So I think Facebook is pushing toward that route a little bit more. I also think no matter how the feed changes, brands and Facebook business pages are still going to have to instruct their communities to ping for notifications. That's not going to change. You're going to bring valuable content and get them to share enough time so they can actually be naturally in your algorithm and your feed too.
Fantastic. And by the way, you can go to facebook.com/scene if you want to actually check this out. I've got this example pulled up here, but basically this tab feature, I mean, it's going to let you have different formats for the news feed. Are there any additional features you guys think they should absolutely add to this with this new tab feed?
The thing is that they keep adding so much stuff. I mean, it's really hard to to say like, and sometimes I almost think that they're overcomplicating things, that they need to keep it simple, because I think the average user doesn't realize when these things are happening, and then they get frustrated. It's like, I can't find what I'm looking for. And then they just, I think it actually drives people away as opposed to making them want to be more engaged.
I agree with Jim. I also would say that, and to align it, I think Facebook right now is trying so many things that we can't really measure how successful it is or if we really like it or not, because they take it away immediately. It's kind of like they're like the Burger King of social media platforms right now. They're just trying and seeing what sticks and not being consistent to just see what's working, just listen to the end user.
Right.
Good point. So I think we've covered the Facebook tabbed newsfeed feature. Again, facebook.com/scene, SEEN. Where do you want to go next?
Let's talk about Facebook's attempt at a Pinterest thing with, I think it's Hobby.
Yeah, I know, right? Is it Hobby? Is it Hobie? I'm not really sure. I actually think it's Hobby.
I hope it's Hobby.
So, Jem, tell everyone who's watching, if they're listening or viewing us live on facebook.com/socialchefs or youtube.com/socialchefs, what do we got going on here?
So I actually caught Mari Smith's live stream about this, and Hobby, I guess we'll call it Hobby, is an attempt, or the way it was advertised, it was like a Pinterest challenger. But Mari went on, actually did her account, and Pinterest has nothing to worry about at this time.
Right.
It was really, from the initial takes for people, it seems very underwhelming. For me, I go into the Facebook trying to be all things to all people once again. And I think, just like when I used to work in defense contracting, do what you're good at and quit trying to be all things to all people. So
Troy, what do you think?
So I get it. I'm going to lean into Hobby since they were pitching it to hobbyists. That's what I'm going to go with. I get they're trying new things. They're trying to focus on the groups thing, really show that we're really for fans, really for supporting you of what your passion endeavors are. I think personally, and this is not a future prediction, this is not something to try to take this live stream 6 months later and say, we told you so or whatever, but I think it's going to flop personally.
So, so here's the thing. So just to that point, Facebook does have a separate site where they basically have a development team where they're constantly doing that whole throw it against the wall, see what sticks thing. And Hobby is actually part of that. This definitely is not a Quibi like we talked about last week, Jen. There's 10-minute or less TV episodes. I mean, I see those definitely taking off. I don't know about this one. I mean, I think that it could possibly work if Facebook wants to, if they want to copy someone else, I guess. There is a feature also, by the way, built into this where when you make these projects, you can turn them into a video. So maybe I'm just wondering if maybe this will become like, the 1 minute or less video project that somebody makes, maybe. I don't know. Just a thought. Who knows? But
it sounds like it's very they don't have a very narrow pitch where they're trying to go with. Like it could tie a lot of different things. Like if they stick to one and just push it, I could see it then maybe evolving, but it sounds like it's still so many other variables to consider when I'm processing. Like, is this like the GitHub for hobbyists to do projects and working with their neighbors on whatever they're trying to do? Like, I don't know where that audience differential is.
I actually think this could be a very useful tool. It's part of Facebook's NPE team, but I think this could be a useful tool for a business if it actually gets a little traction, and people start to really engage with it. I mean, the fact that I could create, a nice little project like list, I could see like wanting to have that easily shareable on my Facebook page, for example. If I want to give somebody some instructions, it's a little better than just typing out a text post. But we'll see. We'll see where this goes. Jem, any thoughts you want to add? Any last thoughts you want to add on this Hobby app from Facebook?
I would just say that the issue I see in general with another app is just that, right? We've got so much stuff out there and new apps showing up all the time. I just don't know how people keep up with it. And I mean, sure, it's easy for us, as marketers to say, oh yeah, but for the average person, right? It's like people's attention span is only so much. I think that's a That's the problem. Let's since we're talking Facebook, let's go to the next, I guess, related topic to them, which would be Instagram. And
so what's the news this week?
So they're actually talking about setting up the ability to see the latest post. This is something that people have been asking for a while, and so that kind of the whole chronological feed thing. And I think it makes sense. I think there's people though wanting to know, like, does it really mean that I'm going to see the post I missed, or are they going to pick? What do you think, Troy?
I think they should take the route that Twitter implement it, where it's like if your top 10 or 15 people you're engaged with all the time, they show their latest post there versus just everything. But I think this is what the people want. Give the people what they want and just let it be. That's just kind of how I feel about it. Also, can we please, when we go to the app and we see an interesting video and image that we're watching, and then 2 seconds later it refreshes, can we get that fixed, please? Please, I'm begging you for the people.
We definitely need to fix that one. Yes, 100%. Here's the thing. I think this is a useful feature if they do roll it out, because a lot of times, I might go and I scroll on Facebook or Instagram, for example, in this case, and I look at a couple of things, and then maybe a notification pops up, and I want to go back and accidentally click that notification, and now I want to go back to Instagram. I have to figure out, well, where am I at? Because hey, depending on how many people I follow, my feed could be just totally overrun with a lot of content, and it might make it hard to find things. I think this could be a good feature to have, but like you guys said, provided it works the way that it is intended to. It would be nice to be able to have almost like a, how you could bookmark something. Why not have a bookmark feature? When I want to leave Facebook, kind of how I go close my web browser window, and it might say, hey, do you want to keep the tabs open? Why not let me bookmark where I'm currently at in the Facebook newsfeed and come back to it? And it might mean more content, which means, you make it up on, keeping people on the site, whether they are looking at you show me the latest post, or you bookmark where I'm at, and hey, now my feed went like this because it was a lot more time or something. But what do you guys think? Any business utility here?
So I feel a business person would probably ask, well, how does this impact my Instagram ad? Does that deter my view time, CPC? Where's going to be with all of that? I feel they've got their audience targeted pretty well. I don't see it fluctuating too much. If you just focus on how many views you get versus conversions, then you probably need to look at more how your ads are set up and your goals. However, I think from just a business page standpoint, if you just post consistently, build. That's why the importance of community over just trying to be viral is very important, no matter if it's chronological or not. On the flip side, to make it really quick, is the concern. If we do set it up chronological, it should solve a lot of issues as far as if something is posting in real time, like news or something like that. At least then we won't have that issue of oh, I shared something, and 2 hours later, it was actually something totally different as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Jim, anything you want to add?
I think you guys have hit it well.
Very good. So we're gonna switch gears here to another social media platform. I think we're gonna go over to YouTube, by the way, and then we're gonna have a couple other topics. But let's talk about YouTube. What do we got going on here, Jim?
So YouTube's coming up with another feature that's going to allow creators of a certain subscription size to get what's called applause. And you can, as a viewer, pay to create applause, and part of that money goes to YouTube and part of that goes to the creator. So I think it goes back to the continued monetization of YouTube for the folks that are really spending the time and effort on it. So I think that's a great thing. I don't know that if I would personally pay for giving someone applause, I just give them a like.
Actually, I do have a very interesting thought on this. So what do you all think about, the fact that okay, somebody spends $2 to do a YouTube applause and have it show up on videos. What do you think about actually monetizing reactions? So, I mean, if you kind of think about it, because an applause in a way is like me giving you a thumbs up. What's the thought?
I feel like for the end user, they just probably want to just engage without having to add some donation value to it. Or you might get some hierarchy of, oh, I'm the person that's money to donate to this, to my creator that I love so much, and someone else who can't afford that amount, they feel in a small little bubble. So you might have an issue of bullying and segregation in that type of field for Gen Zers and millennials. So, that's that variable that I think about first.
That's a great point.
What do you think, Jim?
No, I think Troy hits on something that I had never really thought about, but it does. It kind of creates that whole haves and have not. I think that's a great point, Troy. I mean, not everybody has $2 to be, throwing it at a video. I mean, there's probably other things they should be throwing that money at, like paying their bills, getting food for their family. It's kind of like those people that have, gotten their credit cards shut down because they're doing like offshore gambling. So I think that's a great point. And then is, I guess I just thought of this. Do these platforms leave themselves open for lawsuits because they're allowing people to charge money for something they really couldn't afford?
And even addiction, you think about that, not to segue too far, but online gaming, a lot of individuals are tied in and they're just blowing up credit cards because they're just addicted. And if you're just 6 years old doing things, it's a lot. Right.
No, absolutely. Now, are you working on your YouTube presence this year?
I am. I took a big dramatic stop for a long time. And I realized because people who really, you can't judge yourself on how other people are doing YouTube. You just can't. You got to know what your goal is. My goal at the time, really now, was just getting my content indexed and bring my value for recognition of my namesake and brand to drive traffic to my website, not have 10,000 views, not have, a certain level of subscriptions. I was actually able to get my username before they added all the different changes and rules for it. So I survived that part. But a lot of people are now just trying to buy subscribers, buy to just get these plateaus involved. And it takes away your value. Know where you want to be and know that if you're on YouTube, it's going to take a lot of time and effort, commitment, and resources. And if you're a solopreneur or someone of one, you either have to learn a lot or pay outside sources to really bring that value. And if people aren't ready for that, then you got a subject where your goals are on YouTube versus other platforms. It's totally different.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a great point. And I don't know if you caught it in the article. I wasn't really sure what the subscriber level had to be to do the applause, because I know the super chat, you've got to have a ton of subscribers. Did you happen to get that, Christian?
I think.
For applause?
I think it was. Oh wait, no. You need to have over 100,000 subscribers for applause.
Right.
So that's insane.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't think associating money with that type of thing is going to be valuable. And also think about security. Is it possible that someone could get information that way in some type of way too?
That's a good point. Christian, we're having a problem hearing you on the audio. You want to take us over to TikTok? We can talk about TikTok. Nope. Well, we'll talk about TikTok. Okay. So TikTok, Troy, is doing that the safety feature and controls. I mean, personally, I think that's a good thing. What do you think?
I think it's a great thing. I think now that, Gen Zs and any new parent now, you give them a tablet at age 4, they're conditioned for at least 5 to 7 hours of screen time. And TikTok is where it's at. It's blowing up. It's showing exponential growth each month. So having that kind of option, especially for younger users, just makes it so much more efficient. I think health first over everything else. We do live on these phones, all of us, even us as adults when we work in, but we do have to have those checks and balances in place. And I agree with that.
Yeah. And I would agree as well. Cause in fact, you could almost say, we probably didn't think about when it first came out, and to your point earlier about just how addictive behaviors in certain people, that this is something that was really probably needed from the beginning, because and I remember when I was younger, I used to love to play video games, and kind of you hit on earlier, but parents got to be able to control this in order, for them to be able to, make sure their kids aren't, wasting all their time, doing videos. Now I have a TikTok account. I'm not doing a whole lot with it. What about you?
So I had to claim it for my namesake, obviously. One thing I think, just to add to finalize this point of the screen time management, TikTok is designed as like YouTube recommended videos the whole way through. So it's constantly just getting something, and the algorithm is learning what you like, and it's going to keep you watching on the screen. So I think that's a big part that some people may not realize. For me personally, I have ideas. I just haven't done it yet. Now, some people have just started, had it shared, and they got like a ton of followers. You can get a lot of followers really quickly and get like an ego boost, like just like that. Right. But I've seen a lot of people who have done it really well from a business perspective. That TikTok has allowed you to share it so easily on the platforms for exposure. That some people who may be in business watching this, I don't want to be TikTok because Gen Z. Well, again, they said about Instagram in 2012. That's just for kids under 14. Now, if you're not a business on Instagram, I don't trust you. So I'm not saying it's there yet, but it's getting there. So you probably need to just get on there early and learn the new audience and how they interact with content and videos to jump in.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's good. So Christian, can you bring in the article about LinkedIn Live targeting? I hope you can still hear us.
I'm not sure if he went back out. I think he plugged me in. I will say this. I feel like LinkedIn Live has definitely come up in the past 4 months. Really, from late 2019 going into 2020. Something I was just kind of surprised about how well it would take off. They fixed a lot of the bugs and everything like that as well too. So
yeah, do you have LinkedIn Live yet, Troy?
No, I have not gotten LinkedIn Live. LinkedIn, I don't know what's up, but I like to have access to.
Well, that's why like we talked about, we have to have you on the Tim and Jim show because we've been blessed that we do have it. And it was actually when we were talking with Brian Wallace yesterday, we were talking about the fact that, not a lot of people have it. And so there's really some opportunities there. But I think what I find interesting about the targeting, and I don't know that I can see where it's good for people, but I also, part of me is like, targeting is for lazy people, right? If I've got an audience, I need to be promoting ahead of time that I'm going to be live. Yeah. And just because you target it doesn't mean they're going to come on. Because I don't know about you. I know I spend more time on LinkedIn than I used to, but a lot of people don't get on LinkedIn all the time, and they're not going to probably have their notification on that says, "Oh, Troy's going live on LinkedIn. Let me jump on there." What are your thoughts?
Here's a plot twist for you. If this allowed me to target certain labels, SVPs, solo entrepreneurs, accountants, things like that, then I'm like, okay, I'm really using LinkedIn's data point at that point. I do see this viable for people who are in B2C though, since you're not really targeting a specific industry or title, you're more like people in that location of area. So right. I can see it being beneficial there. But then again, they're already doing it on Facebook and Instagram, probably TikTok, and maybe Twitter. They're probably not thinking from a B2C standpoint, I'm going to do that on LinkedIn because it's conditioned for B2B and a certain audience at a certain level. So that's where I feel like the disconnect is. Is it a good, viable opportunity for, let's say, people who run events, want to get people in that local area to come to the events? I could see that being a big pop-up, especially during an event. But outside of that, I'm not sure if they've got it wired enough yet where people see the value in it.
Right. And this is only, from what I've seen right now, only available through Restream, which in some cases, like, Tim and I use StreamYard. We're going straight from StreamYard to LinkedIn. And so, that'll be interesting to see if some of the other platforms also get the targeting.
Oh, they'll get it, I'm sure. Yeah. Because Restream was early on with a lot of stuff anyway, and then like 3 months later, the other big ones kind of got it too. So I'm sure they won't keep it just restricted to just Restream.
Right. So Troy, you want to tell us some tips that you might have for us on crisis management? Because I'm sure that especially when it gets cold in Chicago, I see there's a lot of crisis going on.
Well, obviously, for those who know, the struggle is real. When you have more than one account on your phone apps for Twitter or Facebook, there's that panic of am I on the right platform? So it might sound silly, but seriously check your avatar. One thing I've tried to always do before I post something, I'll act like especially on Twitter, I'll act like I'm replying, and I'll just see what's there. And if you haven't even noticed this slight change on Twitter, for example, if you're replying and you're on the wrong avatar, you can just put your avatar and switch like that before having to back out, go in, and then try again. So they do have that quick feature. So I may want to reply or retweet as the brand NDTC, and then I may want to reply and retweet it again as Find Troy. So there is that quick function. So that's one thing I would say. But when it comes to pricing,
I didn't know they did that. That's a really cool feature.
Yeah, they kind of had that under the radar. And if you weren't a person always switching accounts, you may not process that. But I love it. It makes it so much easier to kind of just share as me as the employee and me as the brand, if that makes sense.
Right.
I'd probably say also to just have a social media policy. And I know some people say, well, I don't feel like writing another document. And it's not so much just writing pages and pages, but giving you like a to-do sheet and do like a question series. Okay, is it just a misspelled word? Is it just the wrong link? Does the link not just work? Or is this more defamatory? Does this impact the brand and our audience to a point where we have to now make another statement, or we can just remove it? Does removing it make it worse? Or does replying it make it worse? How many people have seen it? Or more so, how many people have engaged with it? So I'd say have a sheet of questions to kind of run through the process, because you can't always assume if you're the social media manager or the main person over it, that you will always be available when these things, it always happens in the middle of the night, or when you're finally on vacation, or when you find your do not disturb so you can enjoy time with your partner, significant other, or your family. And then something happens and like, that's the one time you weren't on your phone. So have those processes in place. Make sure that someone else on your team has access to your scheduled stuff. If something blows up, it probably wouldn't help if you had 3 other sale pushes going scheduled out 2 minutes apart or an hour or 2 apart. Make sure you just put all that to a stop, reevaluate your content calendar for the week, see if we just need a pause and things like that. And also keep aware in mind that crisis isn't just all about your brand. Something can be happening in the world or specifically in your city that impacts your audience. And that to me is still a crisis mode situation where you need to evaluate, do we need to make a statement about it? Do we just not post anything to just respect someone had passed away, or there's a tragedy going on? You have to be aware of these things, because now our audience is very in tune with us. We're more than just the products that we sell. So we have to make sure that our audience and I were aligned on those things and handle our language when we deal with social media accordingly.
And I think, that those are like some great points. In fact, I want to revisit one. I totally agree with you on the sheet, because really it's a system. Mm-hmm. And when you make it easy for people, but by creating a system, it's not that, to your point, it's like, no, it makes it easier, because now I got to go find Troy, no pun intended, to say, hey, what do we do? And I think the other thing, and this was just recent, when Kobe Bryant, tragically passed away, I was like, personally, it's like, hey, I'm not posting anything. I'm just going to stop. Is this nothing other than maybe, sharing, in the sadness? It's like, it was not a time to be like, oh, let me go out there and post. It's like, just let it go for 24 hours. The world's not going to end. And you're right. So many times, because people put stuff on autopilot and something like that happens, it's like, hey, you need to make sure that you go out there and look at your scheduling tools, and also does like, if you were on vacation, does somebody have access to go in there and make that adjustment? I mean, to you and I, it seems simple, right? And I know we're not, and I know it's not, but it doesn't just apply to marketing. It applies in general to the businesses. They got to have these processes in place. And I think those are, great points, things that people really need to be doing. What do you have any other thoughts along those lines, Troy?
Yeah, to add to that point, and someone think about Kobe Bryant for a second. You can be in a very niche industry where you sell printers, or you're an accountant, you do taxes for Fortune 500 companies, whatever your niche is, and you may think, that's basketball, that's sports. That doesn't impact my industry at all. I know my people, I know my audience. Well, those CEOs behind the screens of LinkedIn or on Facebook or whatever are somehow touched and personally grieving for the loss of this Mamba mentality person that impacted them as a kid, or whatever that case may be, and you may be not recognizing the impact on the world. So sometimes take a step back. It's not all about data, or I know 10 people, they didn't care. That doesn't mean your bigger audience doesn't care. So it might not be complete brag. It might be something that's going on politically in the world right now. We're supercharged right now, whatever side you're on. You have to keep in count of those things that's going on. That's going to be a big social moment. So you're not posting things and it gets no engagement or it flops. And then if you are a part of a team, your manager may say, well, why does this not get engagement? And you can just say, I don't know, versus, oh, this debate was going on or this big supporting event was going on. That's why we moved everything. That's why we didn't post everything, because we knew no one's going to see it with the overload of content that was going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And that's, in fact, even like the Super Bowl, right? We just had the Super Bowl recently. And so I know for me, it's like, well, unless I'm going to be communicating about the Super Bowl, everybody's focused on that. So you're right. You don't, it's like, well, why didn't anyone see our posts? It's like, well, maybe because they're all watching the Super Bowl.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes make content specifically for that niche, just for brand exposure. I did a tweet one time for 2 Super Bowls ago, had nothing to do with anything business related, just a commentary and open discussion, blew up and brought so much new traffic to my website. People who have never heard of me. And that's something else to consider too. It's not all about conversion. Sometimes it's just about brand awareness and being just aware with your community.
Right. Yeah, I think would you call that newsjacking in a sense? I know that Mitch
probably
Jackson
some more spiffy marketing word, but yeah, probably the same thing.
Right. Yeah. So what are some of the can you give an example of where maybe you were able to help someone with crisis management, save the day, so to speak?
Sure. So I worked with a national brand on a campaign. We scheduled it out about 3 months in advance, and what we did was once it was there, we'd check on it week by week and make some adjustments accordingly. Of course, something had happened in the world that just was a very tragedy at the moment, and we didn't recognize we still had a few things rolling out. And so one went out, and it was just the wrong time. It had nothing to do with the event happened at the exact same time the post went out. So then we paused everything else, but that post was still there. And everyone knows when it's Twitter, you may delete it, but it ain't gone. If someone make a screenshot of it, it could be still cached in someone else's feed. It's still there. So we took the initiative to address it right then and there. We exported the video and just explain our sympathy for the situation to our audience and community.
That's good stuff.
So everything, I've been actually listening behind the scenes. So I would say everything, I like the tips you're sharing, Troy. Definitely very useful for people that, run into these sort of situations. Is there anything else I missed, I guess, in this short time?
I say this one I think a lot of brands still do. Use the hide function.
Okay,
so a troll, let's say a troll. You have a product that you sell, and someone says, I hate it, it didn't work, blah, 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 blah. And it's to a point where you can't use that conversation instead of deleting it and then making a big screenshot of you deleting the photos, tags and all that stuff. Hide it. It's still visible to the person. It just seems, and they can comment on all the rest of your audience won't even see it. So it's like a very subtle way to just win the day without making anything work.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea and a really good point because they might not even realize it because you hit it that nobody's seeing their stuff.
No, definitely. So did we go, I didn't hear everything, Jim. Did we go over everything with Troy? Like as far as, like obviously covering crisis communication, but like dealing with different cultures and whatnot on social media as well, or?
Well, we didn't talk about cultures, but Troy, you want to hit on that? That's actually a great point as well.
I'm not sure if y'all hearing the echo. I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah, I'm hearing a little echo.
I'll go with it. So culture, some people may think that culture may not be important in digital marketing. It's more than just diversity or using a graphic that talks to a specific demographic or user. It's really understanding the language, how they feel emotionally when you tell a narrative and have a certain experience per platform, per experience. So do a lot of research to understand that. And sometimes it requires us to take ourselves out of the picture. That way you have clear, unbiased view of what's going on. Or what I like to do poll times with different audiences and see what their interest is. and then use that as the fuel to push certain things out there. So for a quick example, you may see at McDonald's for do social media, and they're a certain way, maybe they want to do good because they could help the demographic, the African Americans resonate really well with that. High octane, a lot of pop and things like that. But then you may pick a different virtual what they're about it, and it may take a little bit more work, but you'll get more conversions. You seem to be more aware of the community, and you'll get more shares, more likable, and you'll feel like you're get. That's the thing that brands want to get with the community. Get see me for. And if you can do that for all the different varieties of audiences, it's united as one. It's really strong.
I think those are great points, Troy. So, absolutely. Is there some, can people learn about that? Is there a good way maybe for them to kind of learn what the right way to do things is? Or is it just kind of you have to...
our conversation workflow for the Women Summit. Also, things to go to our 5 years and do a deep dive across corporate culture. Make your own culture and users, do all kinds of contributions, more community, agents like that.
Okay. Very good. So, so by the way, for those of you listening or watching, if you want to learn more about these topics, make sure you connect with Troy at Find Troy on, I think, every social media platform, right? So with that, I'm going to move into tool time real quick. We're going to share a couple of tools for you, and then I'm just going to wrap the show up real quick. So what we're going to do this week is, just because we value your time, we're going to run through 2 quick tools with you. And these are tools this week, not hardware. We've got some of that actually coming up. But the first tool that I want to talk about this week, it's called SendCalendar. Jim, have you had a chance to actually check this one out?
I did, and I really thought it was very interesting. I mean, it's a great way to share with your team what you got going on, and I think it's definitely a value.
So what is it exactly?
Well, I didn't get a chance to look at it a lot, but yeah, you're getting out to people. You got events coming up.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's actually giving them a calendar, because I've thought about signing up for it. I would almost say it's like a email on steroids.
Yeah. So basically what they're doing, so one of the biggest challenges of doing any sort of, whether it's live video on Facebook, so Facebook Live, YouTube Live, webinars, even podcast, is getting people to tune in to watch your content or to watch your video, and engage and whatnot. And so what this basically does is it makes it easy for you to create and share a calendar. So for example, you can have a master calendar. Somebody can subscribe to that calendar, and then they can add, there's also an add to calendar option as well. So it's basically, in a way, it's like setting up a shared calendar across Microsoft Outlook, Gmail, Apple Calendar, and more. And it's ideal for people that run a lot of live video. So Facebook Live, YouTube Live, even Periscope, some webinars, and so forth. Now, in addition to this, it's not just like, hey, I got a shared calendar. Great, because I can do that now if I want to go into Gmail or something to that effect. But it also gives you the ability to have a website embed, as you can see here, a social option for easily sharing and making it easier for people to subscribe to the calendar. And in this way, they actually can then keep up with what's going on. That's basically what it is. It's actually a really nice, it's a really nice tool overall.
Only $9.
Do what?
It's only $9.
Absolutely, $9 a month. There's no contract, which is what I really like about it. So no contract, $9 a month. You can share a single event. You can share the entire calendar. And the other things I really like about this, I like the fact that it's got global time conversion, because, Jim, as you and I, know a lot of times trying to schedule guests for the show, at least over the last month or so, it's always been a challenge. Well, what time zone is the person in? Did I enter the, calendar entry correct? Are they seeing it correct? Because sometimes it doesn't always show correct for the user. So that's tied into this. As I mentioned, no contract, $9 a month, unlimited events. So definitely something you want to check out if you're somebody who does a lot of Facebook Lives, YouTube Lives, webinars, podcasts, and much more.
No, I think it's great. I mean, when you look at people looking for ways to increase engagement, and then, even when you get into the whole thing with chatbots and how some people just don't want to have to figure out how to do it, this is a very simplistic way, and you could probably measure if you're getting people signing up with your calendar, then I think I'm definitely gonna check it out, because I'm like, Troy, $9 a month, that's cheap.
And in addition to this, like you also want to supplement something like this. So you want to set up that shared calendar so people can easily subscribe to your calendar of events. Now, keep in mind with Facebook, you only have you can only schedule out 7 days in advance, but you could at least add them to calendar and add all that information afterwards. Now, in addition to that, you want to make sure you supplement this with some emails out to your audience as well to let them know, hey, our show is starting in 1 hour, or it starts tomorrow. And then also give them, maybe a reminder that the show is live now. That way, in the off chance they do, they do go on to join your show, they can get notified. Maybe they got busy. So that is SendCalendar. And the other tool that we want to talk about real quick is a new tool from Agorapulse, and want to also show this. So from Agorapulse, it's a social media management dashboard. Thanks a lot, by the way, Agorapulse, for the swag. I really appreciate it. Comes in handy, especially in the winter. So that needs to be, by the way, a jiffy right there. So perfect. What is this new tool? It's called Easy Advocacy. And it's a free tool. I love this tool. I've been checking it out, and I can't wait to implement this with some of the companies that I work with. So basically, what this tool does is it takes a lot of the pain out of trying to get employees to share your social media content. Have you guys ever experienced this, Jim or Troy? So,
they're making a man able to share. That's not sustainable.
Say that again, Troy. You were actually cutting out.
I was leaders tend to all their employees piece of content, part of their, and that's not all or well, that's not me. We want your share it, enjoy it.
So what I'm going to do here real quick, so just so everybody can get a gist of what Easy Advocacy does. Basically, I'm going to play this short video. It's a 1-minute video.
A simple way to encourage your employees to share company news, and a clear way to track website visits from these shared posts.
So basically what this tool is going to do is you get your content, you have them create it, and then when you're ready to go share it, you don't just send an email out to your employees and say, hey, go and share this please. You put it in an Easy Advocacy tool.
Create your campaign and click send. Everyone on your distribution list will soon receive an email inviting them to visit the campaign page and share to multiple social networks with just a few clicks. From the Easy Advocacy dashboard, track the shares and website visits of your campaign and find your top advocates from the leaderboard. Discover how easy it is to run an employee advocacy campaign with Easy Advocacy by Agorapulse.
So overall, I mean, I think this is a fantastic tool. If you send emails out to your employees and you expect them to go share it, then a lot of times you don't know who's actually sharing the content. And I can go check your social media accounts, but maybe they have an account they don't tell you about. But the way this works is, you put basically your list of employees into Easy Advocacy, or the people you want to send it to, you send it to them. You can then track what types of content seem to be resonating with your audience. So I like this tool. Have you guys had a chance to play with it, Jim?
Well, I haven't, because I don't have any employees, but I think it's great for the clients I have. I think the Troy's point that that's the biggest struggle, is to get your employees to share your stuff with your network.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good idea.
What do you think, Troy?
I think they should the potential of it, and I think it's going to be. I think when you think of top advocate, your DI, maybe you're working with brands and partners that you want people to So for managing social, you see a lot of collaborate with different departments and things. So I think using this to inform us what we're trying to do, share in that favor and advocacy. It's not just employees and that's different. So you can really see brand.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's the other tool for the week. Easy Advocacy from AgoraPulse, socialchefs.com/go/easy-advocacy. Free tool to use. I definitely would recommend going and checking it out. So with that, that's going to actually be a wrap on Social Chatter episode 229. Troy, if people want to get in touch with you, by the way, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm Troy.
So make sure you go and check out Troy on all his social media channels, follow him, connect with him. Great person to get to know, so we've had him on the show quite a bit. Now, in addition to obviously the topics we talked about this week, there were a couple that we also didn't get to, a couple of acquisitions, things like that, they're useful, but they're not, what's the word? They're useful, but hey, they're not going to necessarily move the needle at the moment. But so be sure you sign up for our newsletter at socialchefs.com/daily. Now, with that, I'm going to wrap up the show here. We also have Social Chatter available as an Alexa flash briefing, as well as a podcast for those of you who want to listen on the go. And with that, we're going to see you all next week, next Thursday, on Facebook or youtube.com/socialchefs. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.